Hey you! I don't know why I'm so loud today, but it's the little audio thing just keeps going up and up and up and up. I was just gonna make this like a general pre-recorded, like a collective. I mean, I guess they are collective. I don't. I just come live and I do stuff. It's all collective, I guess, because none of it has a specific audience in mind. Not none of it. Anyway, hey Siri, pick a random number between 1 and 12, please.
A random number between 1 and 12 is 12.
Pisces again? Okay. I mean, it hasn't given me a repeat yet. And I've been thinking about it. No, it's too soon. Okay, Pisces, I'll just get you one card. You got Share Wisdom. So last time I was talking to you, Pisces, if you're Pisces and you watch this, I'm not going to timestamp this for Pisces. I'm not going to like label this for Pisces because I'm not going to do all of you. But like, whatever you're discovering, Pisces, oh, look, it's like a tree. That's so funny. Oh, sorry. Too funny. Sure. Whatever you're discovering in that process where you're like, you're putting your wheels in the water, you're getting your two fish in the same line, you're going out, you're developing, you're growing. Share that wisdom because in the sharing of wisdom, wisdom has the opportunity to grow and develop, right? Just like anything else. I'm not going to take these. That was a whole bunch. But that's what I got, Pisces. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 12.
A random number between 1 and 12 is 9.
9, Sagittarius. Okay, work. We haven't done you yet. Sagittarius with 2 T's, Terrius. Sagittarius. Give me something good, Sagittarius. I'm going to do my best for you. Sagittarius, I feel like your path is an interesting one. Because it feels like you're almost fixed in nature and that you travel sometimes very linearly. I want one of these first. Okay. Ooh, the warrior. Bottom of the deck is higher perspective. And under that is surrender. And I'll take that as well. And under that is dare to dream. So, a little bit of flexibility don't hurt nobody, Sagittarius. And it's okay to believe in one thing for a time and then to believe in something different. Right? Or in that, it's okay to also be a little bit more discerning about what you believe, which I don't think you have trouble with. But it's almost like it's learning how to extract truth. Right? So if there's something that you used to believe that you no longer believe, maybe there's some truth in it. Maybe not the entirety of truth. Maybe not the entirety of it resonates as true for you now, but maybe there are pieces of truth in it. And even when you sort of are exposed to anything outside of you, again, maybe there are pieces of truth in it. I don't know. But you have higher perspective and surrender, and they both feature that like third eye motif, right? But the card that came out for you is the warrior. Okay. Oop. Oh, come on, Light. You've been so consistent. Thank you. Thank you for your consistency. Oh, it might be too bright. We're just gonna go with it. I feel like this keeps flashing so you can see the higher perspective card. Because where higher perspective is, it's the hardest to read. It's like it's catching all of the glare unless I do this. If I cast a little shadow, then you can see it. Or if the light resets. Oh, excuse me. Right on cue, Light. Right on cue. There's something about this higher perspective. Oh, well, the Hermit is here. I meant to not flip these over yet. The Fool is at the bottom of the deck. Oh. Just got a hair in my mouth. I don't even know where it came from. Maybe Archangel Uriel has something for you. Because I know LB Untitled Tarot says that the flickering lights and electricity, that's Uriel. And, I mean, you know, we have higher perspective. Uriel is what? The crown chakra? Either the crown chakra or the third eye in the Energy Oracle cards. The 6th or the 7th chakra. It might be the 6th, because I think the 7th is Metatron. You can't see that yet, but that's fine. And so it was this energy of like, sometimes you have to cast a little bit of shadow to see a little bit of light. And again, it's that energy of like extracting the truth. But I don't know. Let's get into this. So you have the warrior motif coming out with the Fool. Higher perspective and surrender is coming out with the Hermit. So this is the direction of your journey. Because we start with the Fool, right? The Fool is the beginning. The Hermit is the last one before you enter double digits. So the Hermit marks a period of completion. This completion denoted by strength upright and the devil in reverse. This is interesting because I was just thinking about this devil card because I think I read for myself one time and it came out or something like that. I don't remember. But recently I've discovered that like the one thing that sort of kept me, like, there were some internal resistances and some internal conflicts, I guess, that I had about furthering my own path, especially here honestly, within the last like year or so, but a lot more heavily like this week, last week, end of last week, past few days before yesterday. Yesterday, I reached a resolution, but it's like there were things like I needed to admit to myself how ready I am to move into this next phase and chapter of my life, of my spiritual journey, right, in development. And I feel like on the conscious level, on a very, very surface level, there's so much limitation, but on the subconscious level, and even deeper connected to the all, to the divine, I know that it doesn't exist. And it's like I in the divine was showing myself how ready I actually am. And after I surrendered that resistance by admitting something first to myself and then to someone else. 1 second. I'm gonna drink a little apple juice because my throat is starting to. You hear that? Yeah. I don't think it helped. Well, maybe it did a little bit. I'm not gonna clear my throat. It clears itself. But it's like after I admitted it first to myself and then to someone else, after I externalized that truth, it like simultaneously created the space for all of these different aspects and all of these different pieces and parts of who I am. And I'm a Pisces, right? You're a Sagittarius. I feel like mutable signs, we can carry a lot of, it's easiest to say it as duality or polarity within us. We can be a lot of things in a lot of different situations and scenarios. That's what makes us almost chameleon-like. It's because different situations pull on or accentuate different pieces and parts of our self, different aspects, right? But in that admittance yesterday, it's like I was able to combine everything into just like one aspect. And it took on the form of, if you watch Wrestling Around, like that Luminous Warrior, or just in general, like that adult inner child. And it's like at one point, like I had my inner child that was like, I thought mature for its age. And then I had my light and my shadow, or my light and my dark. And then I guess I had a shadow, right? There was the light, the shadow, the dark, the inner child. And it's like things where like my light had duality, right? It was like high light and low light. And then there was like high dark and low dark. And then there was the shadow that kind of sort of ran in between. Right. But after that, it's like all of it sort of converged on that inner child and matured it to the point where it's like I can be all of who I am and not need something else to like hold it separate. It reminds me of like those shows or those animes where there's a character who has multiple personalities, but it's because like there was this one show, it was like there was a character who had done something that he couldn't live with, and so a new sort of like persona was born within him, one that could handle it. And it's almost like I think like that character had done several things, and like whenever there was something that he couldn't handle within himself, then like a new persona would be born that could, until there was the one that just like could do anything and everything. And it may not necessarily be like evil or dastardly, but it's almost like, there are certain things that we can accept in certain situations, and there are certain things that we can, and so we fragment into these pieces, into these parts that can, right? There's the part of you that is like super sporty. There's a part of you that's super competitive. There's a part of you that's super compassionate. There's a part of you that's this, the part of you that's that, whatever. But it's like in me facing what was my biggest source of internal conflict and externalizing the truth that was being revealed to me. It's like all of that just exists as a single me now. And it has all of the characters and qualities and characteristics of the different pieces, but it's greater than the sum of its parts. Because now it's like, they can all exist in one space. And so now there are things that were seemingly separate that can work together a lot more effortlessly. Something like your process doesn't have to be the same at all. But there's something about facing that which is difficult for you to face and in overcoming it that gives you some sort of strength. I'm almost seeing it like this. Hold up, wait. No, it is like this. Because the hermit is here, right? And in the hermit, again, we see the star. And so there's some kind of alchemy going on here that shifts the configuration into this. After you overcome this devil energy. And I like, again, I'm gonna talk about me. I was Everlong Mystic. Eve went live one day, and she had just opened up the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards, I think. And she pulled some cards for me, and it was the beloved Vision Quest and Soul Retrieval. Now I can finally remember what that last card was. It was Soul Retrieval. But it's like the piece of myself, the soul fragment that I retrieved, it felt like a binding fragment. I mean, I guess you could say like I retrieved my like matured inner child, but I didn't. I retrieved something that allowed all of the different parts of me to exist without contradiction in one space. And that space became like, right, the adult inner child or the inner adult, the luminous warrior. It's the easiest for me. And with the devil in reverse, you can see that it has the same. Let me cast a little shadow so you can see it. You can see that it has that same crescent shape. But in the strength card, it's opposite. And so, in that, I think you're also going through a period where you're redefining what it means to be strong. Maybe the fool and the warrior, it's like you were very um like you are a warrior, right? So you're fighting, you're doing this, you're doing that. But maybe the ways in which you were fighting don't reflect the you that you're becoming. Maybe what you think of as strength and as power is changing. And again, that's what this devil energy in reverse is sort of suggesting. But it's like when your source of power changes, then the way you fight changes as well, or the things that you fight. Something about that changes, Sagittarius. And there's a wisdom here. It feels like this cage, like this is able to open up to like reveal some of your starlight when you need it. Like up here, it feels like a beacon. Like you open this up and it shoots out, and then I don't know, some higher perspective energy finds you, establishes that bridge and that connection, and then it's like it elevates you. Then it's like this turns into an elevator. It pulls you up because of what you're now putting yourself in a space to be attracted to instead of repulsed by. So we have the Eight of Wands, which is a quickening. We have Temperance, which is, it feels like refining more so than like, you have the Seven of Cups, which is taking higher perspectives. And this is like applying the wisdom that you gain to see things in a way that you had previously been unable to see them. And then we have the Ruler of Swords. I just saw the King of Swords somewhere. I think. Maybe not. I feel like I did. The Eight of Wands and Temperance, it's interesting. It's this energy of forward movement. It feels like you're learning on the go now. It feels like you don't have to stop and sit in something for as long to get the lesson or to apply the lesson. And that it feels like you've already done a lot of the learning. Just like Pisces, it feels like you're in this energy maybe of the Scholar of Souls. Maybe the Initiate of Souls. Depending on where you are with this Devil in Reverse, Strength Upright. But it feels like as you resolve this... Yeah. As you resolve this, it opens you up. It's like it gives you more weapons in your arsenal, warrior. And maybe the weapon that you've been fighting with isn't the one that you're the most proficient with. But it's like the only one you have. But it feels like you can like move and alchemize at the same time. You can move and learn at the same time. You don't have to be stopped in order for Temperance to work its magic on you. Because Temperance is all about bringing things into balance. And sometimes that balance leads to something new, right? Like if you have hydrogen and oxygen, right? If you have one hydrogen and one oxygen, and that's how you've been operating, because that's fair. One hydrogen, one oxygen, there's one of both, it's balanced, it's equal. Well, then you're at like a hydronium ion, which is basic. And being basic isn't bad, but depending on the thing, it may be an environment that's not suitable for growth, right? It may be like if it's too basic, then it may limit the reactions that you can produce or that you can conduct, right? Because anytime you get, so if it's too basic, if there are too many OH minus ions, try to follow me, please. Then whenever a positive influence comes into your life, that H plus, instead of it reaching you, it's like it's going to hit one of the many OH minuses around you, and then that it turns into water. Because when you have two hydrogens and one oxygen, you get H2O. It's water. It's pH neutral. But it's like that positive influence was supposed to go to you. But there's too much around you that would sort of attach to it first. And so that's why it's like you almost had to be still enough for you to be like flooded with those positive sort of, I'm just going to go ions because it's the easiest. You like have to be still and be flooded with those positive ions to clear enough of the negative OH minus ions away for one of them to finally hit you, or for a few of them to hit you. Now you can sort of start to see. Now you can learn. Now you can grow. Whatever this toxic aura was around you, it's like it was too strong for the divine's light to reach you. Because now a lot of that light has to like cut through shadow. And a fair amount of it was probably neutralized. Now, let's say, you redo your balance, you redo your thing, and you're like, okay, I'm like flooded with these OH minuses, so let me go like heavy on the hydrogen. And let's say you have like now 3 hydrogens for 1 oxygen. Well, now you have, wait, no, OH minus is hydroxide. Hydronium is H3O plus. I'm gonna look this up real quick, Sagittarius, because the name doesn't matter too much. Hydronium is H3O plus. Yeah, hydronium is H3O plus. Hydroxide is the OH minus. So I mean, either if you're hydroxide heavy or hydronium heavy, like I'm about to do that. I'm about to talk about being hydronium heavy now, right? So the OH minus, just for clarity, is the hydroxide. If there's too much hydroxide, it's too basic. The hydroxides get neutralized to water, but some of that positive influence was to be for you, to move you forward, to get you to see something, to show you that the world isn't what it has to be. Because again, Sagittarius can be a little linear sometimes. They can be really fluid and really flexible. But on some things, they can be pretty linear, and it can be hard to convince them of otherwise, especially if they have like a lot of knowing in a certain situation and area, right? That's why you have to be sort of flooded with more information sometimes. And it's just like Sagittarius in general. Hashtag not all Sagittarius. So that was hydroxide, sorry. Because as soon as I started talking about H3O plus, I'm like, hold up, wait, that's hydronium. So you were hydroxide heavy, everything was so negative, so you go to the complete opposite end. You're doing 3 or more, but 3 is the max. I said I wasn't going to clear my throat, and I just did it. So now, because you experience so much basic negativity, you go heavy on the other side. 3 hydrogens, 1 oxygen, you're at a hydronium ion, H3O plus. It's acidic. Right, and bases can F stuff up just like acids can, but our conception of acids is sort of different than bases. I don't know if bases necessarily melt stuff like acid, but maybe. Anyway, I'm gonna focus Sagittarius. I'm sorry. So now you are extremely positive, right? You're so positive. You're this higher perspective card, right? It's all love and light. It's all, it's all good. It's all gravy. But when the negative influences come in and try to, I don't want to say like ground you or make you more realistic, but the negative influences also have a point. They also have a purpose. It teaches us more about reality in a way, the reality in which we live. And if we are to be those who make impacts and changes on the world around us, then it's like we have to know balance. Because a lot of times, as humans, we can come into something that is wonderful and excellent and everything that we wished and hoped and prayed for, but it doesn't, like the impact of that doesn't penetrate. It becomes surface level. Our happiness is now that thing that we received rather than it being within us. Right? It's just like how some people can win the lottery, hit the jackpot, and then 2 to 5 years later, they're almost in a worse position than they were before. They blew all the money. They spent it all on stuff that has no permanence, that doesn't matter. And they lost it and everything that it gave them. But now, it's like after being exposed to more, the less feels even more less, right? It was neutral before, and then you experience extremely positive. But when you're at a positive that high and you go back to the same neutral that you were at, it feels a lot lower. So the negative influences can't reach you. The lessons can't reach you. The growth can't reach you. The depth and the deepening and the expansion of your roots doesn't happen because it's neutralized by this sort of wall of positivity. Now, a lot of us would say that that's a better position to be in than the negative, and so we kind of stay there. But eventually we sort of shift back to that, 2 hydrogens for 1 oxygen. It's your water molecule, your hydrogen hydroxide, your dihydrogen monoxide, your whatever, right? Whatever. There's a lot of things you can call water chemically, but it's all water. It's all H2O. Now you're pH neutral, right? And it's like, pH neutral water is more conducive, I guess, to growth overall. Some things, need a little bit more basic of environment. Some things will need a little bit more acidic. But it's like with that pH neutral, you're able to take in both positive and negative influences, right? The negative takes something positive away, and the positive gets sucked into the negative. That's how, like electrons work, because it's all a transfer of electrons. The protons and the neutrons don't go anywhere. The electrons are the only ones that are free to move in this molecular sort of exchange. Now, a hydrogen ion is just a proton. So, anyway, let me not get too far into it. So now you're water. Now you can flow. Now you can take the positive on with the negative. And it's like you're open. You don't have this super dense negative cloud around you that neutralizes all sort of positive interactions and aspects that keeps you from seeing that there's more that you can experience. And you don't have this sort of hydrogen sort of rich environment where when a negative opportunity or when a negative experience comes your way, you don't take it as an opportunity to grow or to see something that you weren't seeing. You kind of sort of just chalk it up to the game. And it's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with either, but at that pH neutral, it's like you can be exposed to more and at the same time you can grow. So you can deepen your roots and you can also expand your branches. Right? Because it's like if the roots are, if the roots are too deep or if the branches are too heavy, then like it's going to make it difficult for that plant to sort of sustain itself. So that's this 8 of Wands and Temperance. Now you can alchemize as you move. You don't have to be a slow because the cloud around you isn't as thick, right? That's why Devil energy is in reverse. It's thinning. Then we come over to the 7 of Cups. And in this card, that third eye was blocked. I think honestly, this falls into this story as well. This is like where you are with the 8 of Wands and Temperance. I feel like this is where you were with the 7 of Cups and Temperance. It's like you had to be lost in it before you could see anything, right? Those were the thorns around the third eye, which is why you had to almost be like bombarded with certain things before you could start to see it or get it, right? Why you may have repeated certain lessons over and over and over. And again, with this Devil energy right here, it's almost because of the things that you weren't open to receiving or the things that you weren't open to seeing. But now we're moving forward. And there's a skull here, but all of these, like the 4 wands, there are 4 wands coming up through the third eye on this skull, and 4 wands coming out of the throat. And also, here's the horns. So there has been some growth and some development here. Because now with this Fool, instead of it being just the horns, it's like, you got a whole skull now. You got a whole head. instead of just the crown. So so it's like it encompasses the crown, the third eye, and the throat here. Also, I just noticed that the Fool, let me cast another shadow. The Fool, this moon is the same shape as this moon. But it's almost like with the Fool, the moon is above the crown. So it can't even like intake these things. It's like above your head type of energy. Or it was. So now we end with this Ruler of Swords. And it feels like the sword from this Ruler of Swords, that's what's coming out of the Hermit's Lantern. As it opens up, you see the sword point? And so it's like it's dipping the point in your starlight. And that is what gives you whatever power increase it is that you're going to come into, whatever more there is. This is what this sword was missing. And it's almost like, this is like holy water, and you dip the sword in holy water, and then it's more effective on unholy creatures. You know what I mean? It's like it births a new type of steel, a steel that is able to cut down the unborn or the undying or whatever. Where like regular steel would do nothing, but it's like a sanctified steel. And also with this crown and that, like, look at that. We got that third eye, we got that moon, but the moon is pointing up towards this. Oh, you got 3 moons here. 3 crescent moons. You got lots of butterfly imagery. I feel like this is you existing as you in a world that does not need to change. With this hermit. In the world not needing to change, it's like you don't need your external sort of circumstances to change to validate your internal circumstances. You are who you are regardless of what transpires around you. But it's because you can be so fixed in who you are in a proper way that things around you do change. Because there's something in here about learning the balance. And that's why, like, we're trying to be pH neutral. Because also, I guess it depends. But, like, there's a buffering sort of ability of water. And water is the universal solvent, right? It's overall, it has a null charge, right? 2 hydrogens balance out the electronegativity of the oxygen. And so overall there's no charge, but the oxygen is still negative and the hydrogens are still positive. And so if something comes into your experience, let's say that you are now water and you're exposed to a hydronium ion, that H3O plus, it's positive. Well, now one of your oxygens can sort of like rip a hydrogen off of the H3O plus to make that an H2O. Right? Now you've made what was sort of toxically positive around you pH neutral. And at the same time, it's like, if you are exposed to hydronium ion, that OH minus, now one of your molecules can sacrifice a hydrogen to make that, again, to balance it out to water. But since you are balanced within yourself, then it's like within self, you will fix for what has been, like how you've been affected. Right? And that's another thing about water is that, like, a bowl of it, a gallon of it, could overall have a null charge, but that overall null charge could be a mixture of hydronium and hydroxide ions within you, right? You have positive and negative and neutral within you. And when you have all three present, it's like you can accommodate for your environment while maintaining that internal balance. And again, that's sort of the temperance between these two. But this one, it feels like you can do it and move now. You don't have to be so slow. You don't have to sit there and ponder as long, right? And again, it's like it puts you in a position to interact with your environment in a different way and to maintain that which sort of must be maintained. I don't know, Sagittarius. So the card at the bottom after all of that was the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles is interesting in this card, or in this deck, because it feels like releasing more than lack. And surrender is here. So it's like now you can release, now you can surrender whatever it is that you must release or surrender. There we go. Well, I'm trying not to put my hands in the... There you go. Can you see it now? Can you see it now? Can you see it? Now you can release and surrender what it is that you must release and surrender without feeling like you're losing out on something. Again, it's like old sources of strength and power that no longer serve you. It's old ways of being that don't serve. It feels like you're creating room for the truth of who you are to come in. And that's the higher perspective of surrender, right? It's like we're preparing ourselves to receive. You can't receive if you're already full. Then you might regurgitate. And I've been there. It's not cute. That's what this feels like, Sag. I hope you have a good whenever you... Well, hold up, wait. So in this deck, each coin means something different. The tooth is wisdom. The key is like initiations and new beginnings. The rose is love. The diamond is like the material, can also be the physical body. And the roots is about connection. I think it's also about, because these are enclosed. And it feels like when it's on a coin, that means you got it. Right? That's why the tooth isn't on a coin in the Seven of Cups, because you're still practicing wisdom from the past experiences, learning to differentiate what is sort of like of a new cycle and what is of an old cycle in the Seven of Cups. And it's probably a little bit more difficult because it's honing you, it's training you in your discernment. This Five of Coins, it feels like it's receiving. See, there's something weird here. But it feels like these are like bubbles. Those are the hands of the divine. And it's like they pop in your reality. Right? So community is going to come in. You know, increase in health and physical abundance is going to come in. Love is going to come in. New beginnings are going to come in. Wisdom is going to come in. More absolute truths, less relative truths, but all truth is relevant besides, like, you know, the capital T-R-U-T. Don't get lost in it, Patrick. Truer truths are going to come in. And each one of these, like with these being enclosed, it has its own, like I was talking about the water and the hydronium and the hydroxide. They're sort of like they have their own sort of equilibrium about them. And so as they come in, it's like your equilibrium and their equilibrium. You can neutralize what needs to be neutralized within these to fully accept them, right? It's like, if one of these has a negative core, or not a negative core, but if it's surrounded by a lot of negative, right? And if you're negative, then it'll sort of be repulsed, or it'll just be lost in your external environment because it doesn't penetrate, right? If you're too negative and something is positive, it's the whole thing I already talked about, right? When you're balanced and neutral, you can counterbalance other things and you can take it in rather than it sort of just being dissolved in your environment. It can reach you. Because I feel like I'm going to get lost if I just keep. But it's like just as you have your equilibrium, these things also sort of come in that way. And so you're able to take it in more fully because you have the negative that can interact with the positive, and you have the positive that can interact with the negative, and then it neutralizes those things out to establish that sort of neutral connection. And then after that neutral bridge is formed, then you can sort of like it creates ways for this exchange, like that Bifrost energy. This is what I got, Sagittarius. Anything more is for you. I hope you have a good whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality, and I hope that you were able to follow me as I went into this. So I will catch you all later. I feel like I want to say I love you, and I don't say I don't say it a lot. I do in real life all the time, but on like videos and stuff, I don't necessarily. But you got this, Sag. I'm rooting for you. We're all rooting for you. And I love you. Let me stop. All right. Until the next time, I hope that wherever your path takes you, you have the strength and discernment that you need. And I also hope that you come across some like good people, because community is in one of these bubbles. I hope you're open and ready to receive a good community.